Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to Literary Day with English O'Clock. Now आज हम करेंगे Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. पोइट्रीज के सेक्शन में ये हमारी दूसरी पोइट्री है. पिछले हफ्ते ही हमने पोइट्री का सेक्शन स्टार्ट किया था एंड वी ऑलरेडी read My Mother at 66 by कमला दास. उसकी एक्सप्लेनेशन एज वेल एज CBSE PYQ वीडियोज़ दोनों वीडियोज़ मेरे यूट्यूब चैनल पे हैं. आप उसको देख सकते हो. Okay, moving on. Without wasting a minute, without further ado, let's get into the video. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now, Pablo Neruda's pen name of Neftali Ricardo Reis Bosalto. He was born in the town of Parel in Chile. Neruda's poems are full of easily understood images which make them no less beautiful. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. In this poem, Neruda talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human. Now, mostly बहुत children मुझसे पूछते हैं कि मैम is it important to learn all the learn all the poets name, will that come? Yes and no. अभी जो न्यू पैटर्न्स चेंज हुए हैं उसमें आपको डायरेक्टली पोएट्स के नेम आप नहीं देखोगे कि पूछा जा रहा है, बट पूछा भी जा रहा है. पोएट्री के सेक्शन का RTC इज ऑफ 6 मार्क्स एंड 5 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन एक चॉइस में या एक 2 मार्कर होता ही होता है. तो 6 + 5 + 2 दैट मेक्स 13 मार्क्स में से आपको सिर्फ 4 या 5 याद करने हैं पोएट या पोएटेस के नेम्स एंड समहाउ दे विल हेल्प यू आउट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आपको पैब्लो नेरूडा पता है एंड आपको ये पता है दैट ही राइट्स ऑन वेरी स्मॉल टॉपिक्स एंड ही हैज़ वन द नोबेल प्राइज एंड यू नो द थीम ऑल्सो. तो आप अपने इन एडेड नॉलेज को अपने लॉन्ग आंसर्स में या शॉर्ट आंसर्स में बहुत ब्यूटिफुली ड्राफ्ट कर सकते हो. सो इन दैट वे योर आंसर इन इटसेल्फ वुड बी मोर ब्यूटिफुल. ठीक है. नाउ, Keeping Quiet, the name only suggests that this particular poetry is all about the importance of solitude. नहीं बोलूँगी मैं, solitude is more of loneliness, but it is importance of silence. The poet basically says that हम सब इतने rush में हैं, every day it is a new thing, every day we are rushing towards something or the other. ऐसे time में to sit back, pause, and retrospect and introspect. अब retrospect and introspect दो different चीज़ें हैं. Intro मतलब internal, retro is obviously from your past. So retrospect means inspecting yourself, like within yourself, कि आपने क्या mistake करी and what were the good things that you did, what were the bad things that you did. And retrospect is your past को लेके आप उसको retrospect कर रहे हो. ठीक है. अब हम पोइट्री में जाते हैं. मोर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ये क्वाइट, ये वाला क्वाइट नहीं है, दिस इज दिस क्वाइट. ध्यान से करना है. नाउ विल ऑल काउंट टू 12 एंड वी विल ऑल कीप स्टिल फॉर वंस ऑन द फेस ऑफ द अर्थ. लेट्स नॉट स्पीक इन एनी लैंग्वेज. लेट्स स्टॉप फॉर 1 second एंड नॉट मूव आवर आर्म्स सो मच. It would be an exotic moment. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. For those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you will keep quiet and I will go. बहुत सिंपल पोइट्री है, कुछ है ही नहीं इसमें डिफिकल्ट. अब देखो, द पोएट्स फर्स्टली ही इज़ रिक्वेस्टिंग, ही इज स्टार्टिंग विद अ रिक्वेस्ट, ही इज़ प्लीइंग टू ऑल द रीडर्स. इट इज़ लाइक अ कॉन्वर्जेशन बिकॉज ही वॉन्ट्स टू कनेक्ट विद द रीडर्स. ठीक है. ऐसे नहीं है कि कुछ मॉरल मैसेज दे दिया इसलिए, ये कॉन्वर्जेशनल टाइप में है, प्ली है. नाउ वी विल काउंट टू 12. 12 मीन्स 12 minutes, 12 मीन्स गुड 12 seconds. ये 12 लाइक वॉच के हैंड आवर्स मिनट्स होते हैं, ऐसे भी होते हैं, तो कोई भी हैंड हो सकता है वॉच का, ठीक है. एंड वी विल ऑल कीप स्टिल. द पोएट इज रिक्वेस्टिंग लेट्स कीप स्टिल. मैं 12 तक काउंट करूँगा और आप चुप रहना सब. एंड ही सेइंग दैट फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम इस अर्थ पे लेट्स नॉट स्पीक इन एनी लैंग्वेज, बिकॉज ही बिलीव्स लैंग्वेज creates barriers. For example, I speak a particular language and a person I know does not speak that language, he speaks another language. If I'm going to speak my language, there would be a barrier between both of us until and unless we will know a common language. तो नहीं समझ आएगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं इंग्लिश बोलती रहूँ और आप इंग्लिश ही लर्न करने आए हो, तो आपके लिए शायद एक बैरियर हो सकता है टू वॉच माई वीडियोज. यू वुड वॉन्ट कि थोड़ा इंग्लिश हिंदी मिक्स हो, सो दैट आपका वो बैरियर ना हो और आप अंडरस्टैंड कर लो, ठीक है. सो ही सेज लेट्स नॉट स्पीक इन एनी लैंग्वेज, लेट्स स्टॉप फॉर 1 सेकेंड एंड नॉट मूव आवर आर्म्स सो मच. नाउ आर्म्स हियर दो मीनिंग है. नंबर 1 इज आवर हैंड्स एंड बॉडी पार्ट. नंबर 2 इज वेपन्स. ऐसे वर्ड्स को कहते हैं पन. लिटरेरी डिवाइसेस मैं टुमारो की वीडियो में करूँगी अलॉन्ग विद PYQs, क्योंकि लिटरेरी डिवाइसेस पोइट्रीज की जान है. मतलब दे अडोर पोइट्री लाइक नथिंग एल्स. सो वो एक सेपरेटली उसको हम कनेक्ट करेंगे. आज हम सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक्सप्लेनेशन करेंगे, ठीक है. सो ही सेज दैट आर्म्स मत हिलाओ इतना ज़्यादा, दैट मीन्स एक्टिविटी मत करो इतनी ज़्यादा, मेडिटेट, साइलेंस. एंड वेपन्स में हम कैसे अर्थ को डिस्ट्रॉय कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली ही इज़ अ पोएट, ही वॉन्ट्स साइलेंस. ही ऑल्सो वॉन्ट्स अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ पीस. सिर्फ साइलेंस नहीं है, वो पीस भी है, ठीक है. So he says it would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Very important, this phrase is sudden strangeness. अब exotic moment है क्योंकि everyone is quiet. Like that atmosphere of quietude, that atmosphere of silence. It is somewhat, it would be so exotic that nobody is doing anything, and it's not unproductive. It's silence, without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So he's saying that everyone is going to be together and it's so weird, so different, right? It would be very different. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So सब साथ में होंगे, everyone is going to be together. There would be a sense of unity, there would be a sense of solidarity, wherein we would connect with our brethren, we would connect with our brothers. एक अलग sense होगी. So एक sudden strangeness होगी, very strange, very different. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. So fisherman अपने net को अलग करके रखेगा. He would not pick up any whales. And जब आप देखते हो, if a person is like a fisherman, basically उनके hands हमेशा थोड़े dampy से होते हैं because of putting hands for too much amount of like for too many hours. If you put your hands in water, then you would see that your hands are pretty dampy. अब इसमें salt भी added है. तो he is saying that सब silent होंगे, nobody would do anything, nothing would be done. So this man, he would stop for a while and he would look at his hurt hands. He would introspect. That means वो अपनी problems देखेगा कि मुझे ये feel हो रहा है, और वो देखेगा कि मैंने पास्ट में ऐसा किया था, इस वजह से मुझे ये हो रहा है. रिमेंबर, इंट्रोस्पेक्ट और रेट्रोस्पेक्ट मैंने पहले आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दिया, ठीक है. आई होप इतना समझ में आई हो अभी, ठीक है. फॉर दोज हु प्रिपेयर ग्रीन वॉर्स, वॉर्स विद गैस, वॉर्स विद फायर, विक्ट्री विद नो सर्वाइवर्स. ग्रीन वॉर्स कुड बी आर एटॉमिक वॉर्स, ठीक है, नेचर के अगेंस्ट की वॉर्स. विक्ट्री विद नो सर्वाइवर्स. अब देखो, जो भी आपकी वॉर है उसमें वन पार्टी इज अ विनिंग पार्टी, वन पार्टी इज अ लूजिंग पार्टी. अब इफ द पार्टी हु हैज वन, if they are celebrating even though they know that they have lost so many of their men, right? गैस की वॉर्स, फायर की वॉर, ये सब तो आपको पता ही है. बॉम्ब है, गैस फायर वाला बॉम्ब है, एंड गैस कुड बी न्यूक्लियर बॉम्ब्स, राइट? would put on clean clothes. All these people, they would put on clean clothes. When I say clean clothes, that means they are going to wear cleaner clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. So again, यहाँ पे फिर एक sense of unity है, एक sense of peace है. So all the people who are raging war, if they would not rage any sort of war, and they would just live together with people and they would not do anything. So they're just relaxing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. So the poet is saying that whatever I want is not death. Don't consider this कि मैं चाह रहा हूँ कि हर कोई मर जाए. No, it's not total inactivity. Life is what it is. He's saying that whatever and whenever things have to happen, they will happen. I'm not saying this. I want no truck with death. So he says that I don't want any sort of association with death. Death से मेरा कोई लेना देना नहीं है. Then please don't equate this unproductivity or this lack of work as death. It's not like that. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing. So he's saying that every day we are just so single-minded, we are so selfish. Every day we are just thinking of rushing and keeping our lives moving. ये करना है हमें इसलिए हम जा रहे हैं. We want to earn money, that's why we're doing this. We want to be rich, that's why we're doing this. Like single-mindedly, very selfishly we're doing forward, we're moving forward, we're doing multiple tasks because of being selfish. Right? And for once could do nothing. Perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness. So even though we are so busy, but still there's a sense of hollowness. There's a sense of sadness. Right? Because happiness की कमी है. So he's saying that अगर हम rush को छोड़ दें, अगर हम अपने selfish पने को छोड़ दें, और हम एक minute के लिए, like for example these 12 seconds, 12 minutes, if we'll be silent, then this huge silence would just interrupt our sadness. And this sadness, when the sadness will be interrupted, then we would also start understanding people, and we would also not be threatened कि अगर हम आज काम नहीं करेंगे तो हम कल obsolete हो जाएंगे. No, that is what he's saying. Might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Right? That is why he's saying that life is what it is about. जो life है जिसकी जब death है वो होगी. He gives a very beautiful example that just because we are not doing anything does not mean that there is no progress. We need to learn this from the earth when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. This is a very good example of winter season. Like, see, when winter season is fast approaching, you would see all the leaves dying, all the flowers would wither away. Right? Wait, I'll just write this so that you remember this as well. What I mean to say is, flowers just wither away, and the leaves also shed, and there's also a very dead vibe, actually, to be honest. Very sober तो फिर भी एक अच्छा वर्ड हो गया. Very mundane, very boring. You would see as if nothing is happening in the environment. बहुत silent, बहुत quiet, nothing, no flowers blooming, nothing of that sort is happening. ठीक है? But is that the case? No. The very moment when the season changes and it is spring, you would see the tree is germinating. Ab now just imagine if there's a bird, you are going to water that seed for like months. And that does not mean that the progress is not happening. Progress is happening internally. आपको रिजल्ट ओनली तब दिखेंगे जब उसमें एक लीव आएगी या फिर उसमें एक न्यू फ्लावर आएगा या फ्रूट आएगा. बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उसमें प्रोग्रेस नहीं हो रही. प्रोग्रेस हो रही है. राइट? सो दैट इज़ वॉट ही इज सेइंग. नाउ आई विल काउंट टू 12 and you will keep quiet and I will go. Right? This is what he's saying, that now I've given you so many examples. I am going to keep quiet. You will keep quiet and I'll go. Again, same. It's a cycle. Right? It's a very cyclic movement. Starting भी ऐसे हुई थी और end भी ऐसे हो रहा है. That I don't want any truck with death and I'll count to 12 and you will keep quiet and I'll go. चलो एक बार मैं फिर से रीड कर देती हूँ so that if there would be something जो नहीं explain हुआ हो तो आपको समझ में आ जाए. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a youth silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you will keep quiet and I will go. I hope that you've understood the poetry. If you have, very good. If you haven't, please comment down below and let me know what were the lines that you were not able to understand. I'll help you out with that. And stay tuned for tomorrow's video because tomorrow I'm going to discuss CBSE questions, repeated questions from this poetry along with poetic devices from this poetry because as I said उसके लिए I need a little bit of time. आप पहले पोइट्री के थीम को, उसके मोटिव को, सिंबल को, एक्सप्लेनेशन को समझो एंड सैम्पल पेपर क्वेश्चंस के साथ और PYQs के साथ ही we are going to discuss the poetic devices. I hope you're liking the series. If you are, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to English O'Clock because it's learning time, it's English O'Clock. I'm going to see you tomorrow.